You're listening to Building the Broncos with Nick Kendell and Carl Dumler, Broncos country's leading draft and scouting analysts. Get on over to milehighhuddle.com to sound off on all things Broncos.
Welcome in, everyone, to Building the Broncos. I'm your host, Carl Dumler, and, of course, Mr. Nick Kendell, looking good, sharp in his new hat that he's got there. And I've been slowly trying to get my bill to bend down. I can't do the flat bill. Just can't do it.
Not cool enough?
No. I have reached that point. I just can't pull off the flat bill. Even if it looks good, I'm still going to be weirded out walking around town trying to be that 20-year-old when I'm really closer to 40. So
see, I don't think I'm going to wear this besides like around the house, that white. And I'm out like in dirt and water and stuff when I'm outside. I'd get it instantly muddy. So to keep this pristine, this is an apartment only. My hat is socially distancing from the world as well.
Yeah. I walked into the living room yesterday and my daughter is sitting in the hat.
At least there wasn't an H in there.
Yes. Yes. But I about started screaming and crying because I thought she was like going to ruin the entire hat before I even got to wear it on the show. And my wife's like, honey, like trying to talk to her all nice, like that's Dad's new hat, don't touch it. And I'm just sitting there in the corner, just rocking back and forth. And yeah, but no, it's good to be here. Another Tuesday, all of us together. Appreciate everyone that's already gotten in here. Well, I'm sure we'll get plenty more. You've got your cup. I've got my cup right here.
That's a lot of whiskey, Carl. It's an iced tea, I'm sure.
I'm thirsty. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Sweet or not sweet?
Not sweet.
Okay.
I am not a sweet tea kind of guy.
All right.
We've got one family that we go over to their house for supper, and we always forget that their tea is always sweet tea. And we get it, and we have to do like the quick spit back into the cup and hope that they don't notice, and then pour it into the plants and hope it doesn't kill them. Yeah, that's
absolutely. I did see somebody already said new favorite hat. These are sweet. I'm sorry. I know we're biased, but like the Dove Valley Deep Divers one is cool. I think it looks a little bit like Duke. The Deep Divers one is cool. I think it looks a little bit like Duke. I don't know. There's something about the font that looks like Duke. And Huddle Up is fine. You know, they're OGs, but this is nice. This is clean. This is simple. It's not too much going on. I don't know. I really do like it.
Yep. And Buana Beast is right. Head to huddleuppod.com to get your own hat. You guys can be looking like us, looking sharp. And so I'm glad that we both get to have our hats on here and kind of cover up our hair that's sprung forward.
I mean, I got some serious flow going on.
I know. Mine's actually not doing too bad through this.
Oh, man.
It has gone a little bit slower, which I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. I'll find out in a little bit. And we do have already a hashtag Nick's Beer Fund from Nad Ludlow coming in. Appreciate that, Nad. And got to get him started early.
I mean, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? But yeah, the topic at hand today. Or actually, do we have to go through pre-credit stuff? Gosh, it feels like I'm so out of the loop. Everything is totally back for me. We're in a hat, drinking adult beverage.
Yeah. So make sure you guys are following us on Twitter. You can find me at Carl Dumler MHH and Nick at Nick Kendell MHH. And you can follow the podcast Twitter account at BTB Football Pod. Make sure you subscribe to our show wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a rating. And also make sure you head over to milehighhuddle.com of the Maven Coalition and Sports Illustrated. We will keep you guys informed on everything Bronco related and really just NFL related over hopefully just the next few months of off season. We'll find out on some of that as we go through. But yeah, make sure you're heading over there. Also know that our podcast is powered by Overtime Media.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
So, do you want to introduce our subject?
Go ahead. It was your idea.
Okay. So, I was thinking about this today because I was listening to Mr. Melvin Gordon talk today. And he was on with, I think it was Ian Rappaport. And he was talking about how the Broncos are a better fit for him than what the Chargers were. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit of what's the difference in what the Broncos are doing compared to what the Chargers are doing. But also, we've been talking so much about this young receiving core with, I mean, of course, Sutton's already a star. You got the two rookie wide receivers that everybody's excited about. And, of course, We got the Iowa boy for tight end. Can't forget about him. And so we've got all these receiving weapons. And, of course, Drew Locke, everybody wants to know, is this the man? But they also went and spent big on a running back this offseason and Melvin Gordon. They have an offensive line that I would say maybe is a little more geared towards the run than the pass. And I would say just to help a young quarterback out, you like to have a strong run game that takes some pressure off of him. And, of course, you got Phillip Lindsay, who's been a 1,000-yard rusher the last couple of years. We're not a fingers here, right?
Yeah, I can't keep my pinky down.
But, I mean, as many sides as there is to the pass game, I think the Broncos have done just as much to help the run game. And part of me thinks, especially early on, as those young guys are trying to adapt to the system, since they're going to have a shortened offseason. We're going to talk about that a little bit more here in a little bit. But it's kind of – is the run game going to be more the identity of this offense this next year in 2020 than the pass game?
Well, you know where I stand on run game versus pass game. Passing games are what wins in today's NFL. You can't be completely pass, but haven't really seen many teams go to the point where they're passing the ball too much. You know, obviously you have to play to your strength. Last year, the 49ers made it to the Super Bowl being a run-oriented team. Granted, they're almost like, you know how Georgia Tech was able to hang in the ACC running that triple option. Like, nobody else really knows how to play that. The 49ers run scheme, nobody else is really doing that. They're trying to copy it, but it's not happening.
Right.
That being said, I think 2020 specifically, you're making a lot of sense. I think that when you pay Melvin Gordon, you already have Phillip Lindsay in there. Melvin Gordon was the 5th highest paid running back now, only a 2-year contract, but he's getting paid pretty penny. Right. And if you can get Gordon back to that 2018 season form, I mean, that's going to be brilliant. And one thing I liked that he talked about on the Ian Rappaport segment was that he discussed how much Pat Shurmur loves to use that inside zone. And at the Chargers, for whatever reason, he talked about it being personnel schematically, they prefer that outside zone, which, I mean, you know, both have good strengths, but Melvin Gordon in the inside zone, that's his bread and butter. That's what he likes to do. That's what they did a lot at Wisconsin with some power as well. I mean, obviously you have Reisner on the pulls and Glasgow now that can do the pulls. So I think that ideally in years from now, when you have these young weapons, Drew Locke, you become more of a passing-oriented attack, but with a good defense, a young quarterback that's still a relative unknown, and weapons that are young, going to take a little bit of time. I mean, we have another topic here from a listener that we'll get to. But I think it all makes a lot of sense. And one topic I did want to bring into is that, you know, they're getting faster, they're getting better in the weapons game, in the pass weapons, but the Broncos have a defense to win now. And a lot of times you see those teams with those good defense, pair those with a strong running game. So you're taking the ball out of Drew Locke's hands, you're making it easy for him, and then you can, you know, take those shots when you need to if you're falling behind, whatever. But I really do think that the run game is probably going to be more of a focus in 2020 than people think coming this close out of the draft.
Right. Well, and you kind of answered our super chat from Ron W. there. The hats are dope and clean, fellas. Really appreciate that, Ron. Did you read Gordon's comments about this scheme versus the Charger scheme? Does the Denver scheme fit him better? And you just said it. The inside zone run is exactly what he loves to do. When he can him pounding between the tackles. That's why he's so good on those 3rd and short plays, because he's not the hardest runner. But
he's a pretty hard runner.
He's a hard runner.
Okay. I went back and watched some tape, and he is runs pissed off. I don't want to curse too much, but like he's mad.
Sure. And I don't want to disagree, but the one thing that impressed me was he was very good at finding the little tiny holes.
Yes.
He has really good vision. I think that's a very underrated quality that he brings, and why he is so good on those like 3rd and short or goal line plays. I mean, that is something he is, especially since his rookie year, he had 0 touchdowns. And then all of a sudden he exploded on the scene. I think he had 12 rushing touchdowns the next season or something like that.
I think it was that well.
Yeah, and it just, you could tell there was a difference. Like he understood where he's supposed to be going and made the right reads when he needed to make them. And I'm excited to see what he can do, especially with running that inside zone.
And I just wanted to, I always feel like I got to comment on this, but Ron W., I always love to see your face. That smile is like one of my favorite part of the whole shows. It's a great smile. Just so much like joy.
Get to a couple of these super chats because we got quite a few coming in. Appreciate it, guys. Bronx Legend coming in. Love the pod, guys. Keep rocking. # state of mind. # DB for life. Can't disagree. And so let's see. We've got a couple others here. One from Oscar. Really appreciate it here, Oscar. Do you think Shurmur might like Gordon more than Lindsay, or could he be looking to do what the Saints did with Ingram and Kamara, Loving the content.
I just, from Ingram and Kamara, the thing is, when I've watched Lindsey and Gordon, I think both of them do their best work between the tackles. So you don't really have a Kamara, so to speak. I think it's more of Lindsey really reminds me of Warwick Dunn. He's still he's small, and you think that would translate to him being a pass catcher, but that's not the case. I think Gordon's a much better receiver than what I've seen from Lindsey. So obviously you're going to split the workload, and you're kind of go with more of a hot hand. And 16-game season, you get dings. If a guy gets hurt, you can go with the other one and not have that much of a drop-off. But as far as Kamara and Ingram, I just don't see a guy being that much of a pass weapon between both of them, where Kamara in space, granted last year he had the injury, was not as effective, but Kamara as a pass weapon is in a rare air. So maybe it's split-wise, but I just don't see the roles being as defined as you saw with those two.
Right. You're right. I mean, they're both inside runners. I mean, that's the nice thing is this scheme fits both of them well. You would think Lindsey would be that outside runner with his speed, but he really is. His best work is running inside out. And so I feel like Gordon is more of your all-around running back, where Lindsey is your home run back, but more out of actually running the football, not really much as the pass catcher.
And maybe that'll change this year. I mean, last year he was coming off the wrist surgery. Granted, this is a weird offseason, but I mean, if Lindsey really wants to make that money and become a guy, a good paid back, he needs to show more in the pass game. I mean, it's that simple. It's not something you can not have in your game today in today's NFL. So that's just my biggest complaint.
Right. And it is the Shermer offense really wants to feature running backs in the passing game. Mm-hmm. They want teams, again, Shermer is so big on wanting the defense to have to face every inch of the field. And so the short zones have to make sure that they respect those. So then those guys running over the middle have those pockets that they can run over. So those linebackers can't just drop back in coverage every single time. They want a running back that brings fear in the passing game. That's why Saquon Barkley was he is their offense. I mean, I know they drafted Daniel Jones, but I still think Saquon Barkley is that offense. And so we'll see how they do moving forward with this new coaching staff. But
that's partly because of the quarterback development curve compared to the running back development curve.
That's true.
But
that's true.
Also, if you take a running back second overall, then gosh darn, you better use them.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I want to see how Lindsey develops this year. But there's a reason that Gordon need to be brought in, because there are things missing out of that running back room that Gordon brings that the others did not.
And bringing on that, obviously we got some can you make an all-time Broncos team? That's a good question. Honestly, that might be a topic for another day. Guys, we have a long offseason ahead of us still. So actually that's something we talked about, I think, years ago. We were down the track, but I remember Carl, this would be a really good idea for a podcast topic. While I was waiting on a train outside of Portland, Oregon.
Yeah. But so Hunter, we appreciate that. We'll come up with something on that.
And Hunter had this one too.
What's going on, fellows? Who do you guys think is the greatest O-lineman in Broncos history? Hashtag stay strong, Carl. Hashtag Nick's Beer Fund.
I'll go first. Oh, my goodness. Well, that was not my beer, so do not worry about that. Nick's Beer Fund. That's what I was reaching for. Okay. I don't want to be – the thing is, I trust my eyes so much. So if I was talking about guys before I was really watching tape, then I would just be talking out my butt, and I'm not going to do that. Obviously there's been Schlereth was really good. There was some really good tackle. Zimmerman was good back in the Elway era, but I have to go Clady just because I watched him, and in hindsight, even more so, just how freaking good Ryan Clady was. If he didn't get those injuries, and we're talking about a guy that's playing towards the Hall of Fame, and granted injuries, he fell off a cliff quickly after that, which is really unfortunate. But as far as what I've seen, and I can vouch for it, the greatest one I have seen for the Broncos is Ryan Clady. He was phenomenal.
Yeah, Tom Nayland's hard for me to pass up on.
It's just that positional value is so ingrained in my head.
I know, it's true. I'm trying to think. Yeah, personally, guy that I've seen quite a bit of, Ryan Clady, has to be up there. Because like I said, he did things that rookie offensive tackles are just not supposed to do. I think he gave up half a sack his rookie year, or 0 sacks. It's one of those two.
Yeah.
And that's unheard of.
Yeah.
And he had a young quarterback that he was working with. So, it wasn't like he had this great veteran that was helping him out or anything like that. So he was outstanding until the injuries set in. It just completely unheard of.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
So
it might have been, man. He was so good. I was listening, I think it was a radio segment they were talking about if you could add any Bronco of any time in their peak and add him to the Broncos right now, who would it be? Hard pressed not to go Ryan Clady. There is one correct answer. It's not Ryan Clady. It's probably the first ballot Hall of Famer, Champ Bailey. If you're not adding a non-quarterback, excuse me, that's a very important caveat. But Clady probably on offense, man. He was so good, and those injuries zapped him. But I don't want to wax too much, but man, he was incredible.
Yeah, and so Hunter, really appreciate. Like I said, we'll get to your question on the all-time Broncos team. We'll maybe make that an entire podcast.
Absolutely.
From that one question, man, because that's an awesome question. Yeah. Eric, Lance, Chad, Zach, you guys all stay away. So, yeah, appreciate that there, Hunter. Probably coming in. Thank you guys for the great pod. What?
Love from Iowa. Sorry, I got really excited.
Appreciate all you do. Love from Iowa. Go Broncos.
Love from Iowa, indeed.
Yeah.
I'm looking out on a gray, dreary day in Iowa, but next few days will be a little nicer, So
really appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we really do. And we love that you're joining us here today, all of you guys. It's just been a lot of fun already, and we got plenty of time. So over under on Garrett Bowles holding penalties this season. # Broncos, # Nick Spear Fund from Terry Randall.
I'm looking at penalties right now from 2019 just to get an idea of where we are at. So, that's a team one. Do you have any guesses, Carl?
I'll go. I'm trying to remember. I think he had 10 last year.
I don't know exactly. I know that he had like the same as David Bakhtiari, I believe, who was obviously one of the best offensive left tackles in football. But Laramie Tunsil was number one with 17, but a lot of those were false starts.
Right. Those are
weird.
I'll go 7 since he's got an entire season of Locke. That'll help. As much as this is going to be a weird comment, stick with me on this. The chance that there might not be fans in the stands could actually be a huge help for him. Those home games, not having the pressure of the home crowd, knowing that they'll boo him if he gets that holding penalty. Because you and I've talked about it. He did much better on the road than he did at home, which is weird for an offensive lineman.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at Garrett Bowles' stats here, and I haven't heard many people talk about this, but so how many penalties do you think was counted against Garrett Bowles last year?
I feel like 8 or 9.
10.
10, okay.
But he had an incredible amount of declined penalties. So it must have been like on 3rd and down when you still had an incompletion, but 6 declined penalties. I think that has to be number one in the NFL. Yeah, nobody even had 5. You had some people with 4, but 6 declined penalties from Bowles. So that's really interesting, and one offsetting as well. So I know that the 10 the counted penalties is big, but he had committed 17 penalties last year, which is, why is it doing this to me? Well, 17 total penalties, a lot of them holding. So I'll go 10 again. I think you're still going to see a little bit of ebbs and flow with this game. But I think the overall, because the offense is going to be better, more explosive, it's just not going to hurt as much. Last time when there was a penalty last couple of years and there's a penalty, that would completely kill a drive. I mean, pretty much might as well just send out the punt team because you're 2nd and 20, you're done probably. But this year, more explosiveness, better weapons, Drew Locke can create. I don't think those penalties will be as costly. Granted, there'll still be some that make you want to pull your hair out, but that's the bet the Broncos have made this year, and now that's just how it's going to be. No perfect rosters.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard to disagree. I mean, I think that part of me, like I said, he's gotten this huge bad rep, and deservedly so for some things that he's done, because some of his holding penalties are just plain stupid. Like, he's not even a part of the play, and he's still throwing a guy to the ground. Or the running back's gone by him 5 yards, and he's still taking the guy to the ground. Those kind of things. Like, I appreciate aggressiveness, but there's also got to be some intelligence that goes into the game. And so I agree that there's going to still be some mistakes along the way. And that's why, what did I say? 7 or 8?
I think you said 7.
7? Okay. I'll probably jump it up to 8 after all the stats that you gave. I appreciate the extra information. I was just kind of pulling something off the top of my head there.
He had 13 false starts called on the season. He had one illegal block above the waist. I do not remember what game that was in, but and the unnecessary roughness, I think, was in the Raiders game. That was a BS call. I recall that one. That was dumb. But 13 offensive holdings, and also way too many of them on run plays. Like, Garrett, the play has passed you. Don't drag the guy to the ground. This isn't wrestling. Like, you did your job. You did a good job. Now stop.
Yeah. So James Campbell, for what it's worth, our people always come through for us. Bulls had a 5-1 home-away split in accepted holds. Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, a little bit of a getting in his own head.
I don't know if you can say that.
It is a due to sponsorship. We're not allowed to talk so much, but I also have my Odell shirt on today, which is a Fort Collins brewery, and let's just say I'm a supporter.
There you go. All right, got some of those questions. Appreciate all these guys coming in here. We got your Nick Kendall's number one stand coming back. Hi, Nick, big fan.
Got to update it. Got to get the hat in there now.
I know. So appreciate you joining us here today. And
so we should probably get to Barrett Hustle's question here. So while you look for some to draw out here, I have a thank you to Buana Beast here. He's obviously heading a lot of our moderation stuff, and he hit me up with this earlier from Barrett Hustle. And the question is, are you guys worried at all that Judy and Hamler will not be able to pick up the Pat Shurmur offense with no training camp due to the virus? It looks like a very intricate offense. So that is thank you very much for the question, Barrett. Hope you're with us right now. If not, you'll listen to it afterwards. But that is something that is a worry. I mean, it has to be a worry. Granted, one thing that the Broncos have going for them is that they're not the only team that are going to have those issues this year. At least they have a quarterback coming into their second year, granted 5-year sample size, or 5-game sample size, excuse me. But that is something that is a worry, and that goes right back into our original premise, our original topic here today. Broncos might be more of a run team in 2020, paired with that defense, protecting Drew Locke, especially if the tackles aren't very good, then would meet the eye. Now, granted, that's not what I'm doing in Madden. That shouldn't be the general goal for the offense long term. They should try to become more explosive, a pass-oriented team, just because that's what the data says they should do. That's what all advanced statistics say, pass game. But I think in 2020 specifically, to help limit the issues with integrating the Pat Shurmur offense, a young quarterback, tackle questions, and young weapons, that all points to the run game being a bigger, intricate part of the offense next season.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And I think it does help. One, Jerry Judy did come from a system that ran a lot more pro concepts, where he ran you and I, there's a breakdown chart of his routes, and we can put that up on Twitter after the show, just showing that he ran quite a few different routes there. Obviously, he was inside, outside, and so it's not going to be as shocking of a change. But I would also look at somebody posted Kyle Shanahan's route trees for wide receivers, and there are about 50 routes that a wide receiver can run on any given play. So think about that.
X.
Yeah, from the X position. So you imagine Jerry Judy, he's got to learn the X, he's got to learn the Y, he's got to learn the Z. He's got to learn them all.
Yep.
And so I'm hoping year one, they just say, hey, we're going to put you at this one spot, and this is going to be your main spot for most of the season, and then kind of grow his repertoire as he goes into the NFL. But this is why it is such a huge transition, and why there are probably going to be some struggles with the offense early on. Now, I do think, looking at the offense last year, it was Sutton and nobody else. So it's hard to be worse than what the Broncos showed last year. But it is. It's going to be – I'm interested to see how much these young guys desire to work together early, because it is going to be more on the players this year than the coaches to get people ready.
Yeah.
So this is where we're going to see a lot of Drew Locke's potential. If he can get these guys rallied together and say, okay, guys, we're going to be working together. I mean, there's pictures of Tom Brady and his receivers working already together, that they've just organized practices. And it's not just his receivers. He has the offensive line there too, and they're working through the playbook. Drew Locke's going to have to do a lot of that. And I know he said he's going to, but going to and actually doing it, we're just going to have to see. I trust that he will, but it's going to be more on the players to really get themselves to the point they need to be. And agree with Terry Randall here. Make sure you guys are pushing that like button for us. If you guys can find that, appreciate that, Terry, with the super chat. And then, of course, we got
the orange heart. Christy. Pros to that one.
Thank you so much, Christy. Yep. Really appreciate that a lot. That means the world to us. We love you guys too. And it's just been an honor to be a part of this off season. And let's see, making sure I'm not missing anybody here with the super chats or anything, and trying to look for any great questions. But you're right. It is for rookies. It's going to be a transition no matter what, whether it's regular season or not. And so it is added pressure into that kind of situation. And there's added pressure. And this is the Broncos have a 3-year window. I mean, let's just be honest. We're going to have to go in 3-year increments of windows. And with Drew Locke being on his rookie deal, all these other guys being on their rookie deals, they have to get up to speed quickly. There's a lot of pressure on these guys to succeed. The team hasn't made the playoffs since 2015. Drew Locke has all this hype coming into the season from a lot of different people. Some of them really down on him, some of them really high on him. It's just kind of all over the place. And so for these guys, unfortunately, they just don't have the time to wait to develop. I was talking to somebody earlier today about this. Paxton Lynch walked into the best situation ever. In some ways. I mean, he walked into a team that's coming off a Super Bowl, so that there's not like this huge, hey, we have to go win a Super Bowl right now kind of thing. It just happened. Yeah. I mean, we're kind of coming off the high of that. And so he was given truly 3 seasons to prove that he could have been the guy. Drew Locke has 1 season to prove he is the guy, unfortunately. I mean,
I think he just has to not suck.
Okay, well, and what I mean by that can mean a very wide range of things. It doesn't mean he has to go out there and be MVP. But you're right, that he has to at least prove that he's competent on the field.
We need to see the potential of the entire offense. So just like the young offense, I think Drew Locke will probably see plays where he's putting up points and making great throws, kind of we saw in that Texans game, and there's going to be some duds out there as well. I mean, it's going to be an erratic offense. It's going to be probably even more so than normal. You'll see some games. I think the Broncos will actually put up 40 points at least once this season. But I bet you they'll have a game also where they put up less than 10 points. I mean, it's going to be that kind of exciting roller coaster. They'll probably end up, I mean, even more so, they'll probably end up beating a team nobody expected. Maybe Tampa Bay early in the season, maybe the Saints, but they're going to end up losing a game that they probably shouldn't have also. So that's just the nature of a young offense. It's going to be volatile. So,
right.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
And Dads R Us Gaming coming in with a super chat. Appreciate that. Locke has talked about getting together with wide receivers. When that happens, should he invite Cushenberry along to build a little chemistry with his new center? Yes. I mean, the more people you can build chemistry with, the better.
If I don't get an invite, I'm going to be upset.
Pretty much. That's how that should be. I mean, obviously they need to be careful of how many people they get all into place. But but it is one of those things. Yes, the more players that they can get together to get everybody on the same page, the better. Because Cushenberry needs to learn to work with Reisner and Glasgow, and I mean, Bowles being there with the new offense, he needs to start getting into that system as well. James, he needs to get going because he's got probably quite a bit of rust after not playing last season, and so yeah, the more players they can get together to be a part of that, the better. I mean, pretty much run their own OTAs. Now, that's putting a lot of players at risk. Melvin Gordon talked about that today. If maybe because of OTAs being canceled, less players will be injured going into training camp. Well, some of those teams, that might be the case because maybe they don't get together. But for some of these other teams that need to get together, there might be that crazy injury that we hear about. Was it Ryan Clady that hurt himself playing basketball?
Oh, gosh, I don't remember.
I think it was him. And so you might hear something like that. Are these guys playing in the park and somebody tweaks something?
Are they insured? If, let's say, they're doing a non-team activity where Drew Locke's getting together with the wide receivers and, God forbid, one of the wide receivers busts their leg. If it's not a team-organized activity, are they covered?
Yes, as long as their contract doesn't specify
that they can't do something.
Right. So, like, I know Ben Roethlisberger had sometimes in his contract he was not allowed to ride a motorcycle because he got hurt riding a motorcycle, being an idiot. And so things like that, I think as long as they're doing – because if they were like weightlifting, teams would be like, oh, yeah, that's covered. As long as they're under contract. But those guys who are say, on their last year of their contract, do they want to risk that? A guy like Courtland Sutton, maybe he's going to get paid after this season. He might be pushing for that.
Should be, probably.
Right. Justin Simmons, I wouldn't come out practicing right now with the team. Now, the defense is a little bit different because they're having the same system and a lot of veterans that are going to be on that defense compared to the offense. But it's still some of those guys. It's putting risk out there, but there's also risk in not getting together and looking like a terrible team.
Yep. And that's something, too. You're talking about somebody asked Cushionberry working with Locke, and we're talking about the young wide receivers. Are we, due to everything going on? Typically, I always say, we're all excited about the draft. Nobody loves the Broncos draft as much as me. I mean, I will fight anybody who disagrees. No, I'm just kidding. But I think that's something that coming out of the draft because of the new shiny toys, we maybe sometimes expect a little bit too much right away from them, and especially in a weird offseason like this. Maybe we shouldn't sleep on a guy like Patrick Morris winning that center spot out of the gate. Maybe we shouldn't sleep on Deshaun Hamilton being the wide receiver 3. I mean, obviously Judy's going to be 2/1, but maybe beating KJ Hamler, who's got a little bit of work to do, is young still, has some nuance that he needs to add. So it's all stuff that, we're dealing with a weird situation here in the world and praying like crazy that we get football. But it's something to consider. I don't think I'd sleep on a lot of these guys just assume that the rookie is going to come in and displace them.
Right. Okay. So Biggie Bronco, I did want to get to this a little bit. Why do you think Drew Locke will only have one season to prove himself with this year's troubles going on with a virus? So a few things. Like I said, sorry, I'm trying to organize my thoughts here just to make sure that they all come out the way I want them to. But no. So starting off, I'm not sitting here saying, let's say they go 8-8. Drew Locke throws 25 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, looks competent on the field. That's fine. He doesn't have to go out there and, like I said, be a top 10 quarterback to still be the guy that's going to be there for 2021. But let's say they have a top 10 pick. Drew Locke really struggled through like 20 touchdowns to 13 interceptions. And I know that's not a huge difference, but it's still a difference there. And at times really struggled to understand what was going on in the field. Players didn't quite rally around him. When you look at that 2021 quarterback draft, and I know we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but there's quite a few big names that could be coming in there. I mean, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Lance from North Dakota State. I'm trying to think of – you got Purdy from Iowa State looking pretty good.
I think it's more likely that you see the Elway dip back to the well of a free agent quarterback or making a trade.
And that was going to be my next point was let's say Aaron Rodgers gets really upset with Green Bay and says, I want out.
Matt Stafford just put a $6.5 million home on the market too.
Yeah. And so you're looking at all these great young weapons that you've got, and you're sitting here saying, we've got ourselves a window here with some great players that we think could actually compete if we have a good quarterback. Well, you're talking about two guys that honestly have a great argument for being top 10 quarterbacks, and Rodgers, obviously, and Matthew Stafford, who's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in NFL history. And so, yeah, Trey Lance is the guy I was thinking. But yeah, so you've got all these things there that if Drew Locke doesn't really go out there and take this position, it would not surprise me if we're having a conversation about what the Broncos are going to do at quarterback next year.
Yeah, as far as Drew Locke, obviously you're throwing out some stats about how he needs to look, but for me, again, it comes back to the tape. Obviously, if he looks good on tape, the stats will be good, but I think of it was just Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart in the 1964 case of Jacobus versus Ohio when discussing pornography, trying to define pornography and the phrase, I know it when I see it, in regards to what is porn and what is not porn. And I think the same holds true for good quarterback play. I know the real stretch there, we're being total law nerds, whatever you want to call it. But I think that is something that when it comes to Drew Locke next year, there's a reality where it's possible that he looks really bad, and the Broncos offense and the defense around him looks like a team that could challenge the Chiefs next year. And in that case, granted, I think that's a very small chance percentage of happening because I think Drew Locke is going to be a good quarterback. But when that happens, you need to be able to have that discussion of, do we look at these other quarterbacks? Because Super Bowl windows are so small. They're fleeting. I mean, the Jags had one, especially when it's a defensive-based one, but Super Bowl windows that are not tied to a quarterback. So if you have a chance to go out there, you have a great roster already, and you can go take a swing, especially with the Chiefs about to pay Patrick Mahomes, 2021 and 2022 look like the best years for a Broncos Super Bowl window, considering the structure of the Chiefs and the structure of the Broncos outside of the quarterback. So it's a discussion you just need to be preemptive to discuss. I don't think it's one that we need to have, but it's the offseason. We're talking about hypotheticals. So.
Right, exactly. And that's why, I mean, he is in just this difficult window. I mean, it's not the best offseason for him to have to be trying to go out there and prove himself. But you have to remember also, I mean, he is a second-round pick. And I hate to say that because there are a lot of teams. I just had this conversation with somebody earlier. The Seahawks, they have tried to trade their quarterback, even though he's proved he's a top 3 guy in the league.
I'd take him top 2 these days. I mean,
yeah.
Mahomes and Wilson.
Yeah, it is. Dak Prescott. He's pretty much been top 10 almost every single year in every quarterback statistic out there. And he's struggling to get paid. And they're kind of looking other directions of what they want to do at quarterback. And so there is this stigma. If they're not a first-round quarterback, they're not given the time that you would hope. I mean, Drew Brees. I mean, he's another one. He was a second-round quarterback. Now, given he was coming off injury when he got moved to another team. But still, if he was a first-round quarterback, I'm guessing they stick with him.
Yeah, probably. I mean, at this point, it doesn't matter where he was picked so much. I think you have to trust the tape. But again, Broncos, right now, the offense, it's young, but they're looking pretty good in a lot of spots outside of offensive tackle. Even if you don't have the best talent, I think Vic Fangio and Ed Donatell are good enough schemers where they can find guys that fit the role and they can still get a good defense. I mean, bend, don't break, limit the big play, and make it hard as hell to score once you get in the red zone. That's a formula for a top 10 defense, even if you don't have a top 10 defense on paper. I mean, they honestly probably didn't last year, especially when Chubb went down. They still ended up a pretty darn good defense. So you just need to be able to be in that reality where if Locke struggles, you can make that decision. I don't think that's going to happen. And obviously at some point we're going to need to talk about areas that Locke will need to improve to gain our trust. And I know they had the 5 games last year and he did look improved, but also I think I went back and watched those games one time through, and I'll watch them through a couple times through already. Obviously I know that I don't want to be bored of them. I want to leave some meat on the bone for the rest of the offseason, but I felt like, especially with Scangarello, outside of that Texans game, they gave a tricycle offense. I mean, it was really hard to evaluate Locke. I mean, there was good throws on there, but what they asked him to do from a mental side, it was all very easy reads, get the ball out quickly, protect Locke. So, actually evaluating him was pretty hard. So while he did win and the Broncos did go 4-1, he saw flashes. But if we were evaluating him as a college player, I'd say he has the tools that you're looking for. But actually, a full franchise quarterback, I need to see more. I need more sample size. I need them to ask more of him so I can properly evaluate him.
Right. All right. Well, Dad's RS Gaming coming again with another super chat. Best guess on yards and touchdowns for Judy and Sutton. So I'll start with Judy. I'll go 850 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Okay.
And then Sutton, I will go 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns.
All right. I'm going to go 1,150 yards for Sutton and 10 touchdowns. And I'm going to go 800 yards and 8 touchdowns for Judy. And I'm going to see more receptions for Judy as well, just because I think they're going to target Sutton more down the field. Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out for sure. And let's see, looking at some of these other questions, we've got quite a bit on some quarterbacks that could be out there for 2021. But yeah,
I haven't been reading. Are people pooping on me for having any sort of doubt on Locke? Guys, I want to see it. I'm an epidemiologist. I need sample size. I need more data. Give me the data. So that's just wait and see.
I think from reading the comments, this seems to be kind of the way everybody's going. J-Step saying, Locke got great potential. I will take it. Yeah. I mean, that's at this point, that's all you can ask for.
He's cheap. He's got tools, and the guys love him. Now, how far does that take them? I mean, there's a chance that he's Andy Dalton or Derek Carr, excuse me, who you love on the rookie contracts. You're going to the playoffs every year on the rookie contracts with those guys. Once they get paid, though, that's what we have to see with Locke yet. So we will see. I think that I am really excited about them.
Yeah. No, and like I said, this is why I love all of our listeners, because you guys, you get it. Like, you understand that we can sit here and say we want Locke for 2020 and we like his potential, but that doesn't mean he is the future. Like, you can be okay having that gray area, and that's any young player. That's where you're going to be. It takes a while to really evaluate them. I mean, I'm guessing right now I look at like Cleveland with Mayfield. Like, he hasn't proven one way or the other.
Bill O'Brien's a clown. I just wanted to throw that out there, Charlie Beagle. Bill O'Brien, what a clown. Yeah,
we'll see if Watson's playing with them for much longer. Manny Wise, really appreciate the super chat coming in there. And, everybody appreciate you guys being here today. And let's see. Matthew Stafford will retire a Lion. He's been through too much. Detroit is home for him. We'll see. I'm guessing Tom Brady was thinking Boston would be his home after 15 years, and he's now in Tampa Bay. Peyton Manning, I was just reading the article on his leaving Indianapolis, making the decision to come to Denver earlier today. There's some this is Peyton Manning week on Sports Illustrated, if anybody didn't know that. So there's going to be some great articles coming out. But, I mean, for him, he was, like, numb, not knowing, like, what do you do in free agency? I've never had to do this. I never thought this would happen in my career. And here he is going into free agency. So you just never know. I really love Matthew Stafford. We were talking about him, I think, a couple years ago on the podcast of if this guy ever like hits the trade market, the Broncos should be after this guy.
Yeah, to be stuck in what is probably the worst sports organization, one of the worst ones in the NFL. I mean, everybody, their mind goes to the Browns, but if the Browns had Matt Stafford, they would be like the Lions. Matt Stafford has single-handedly made that team relevant. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Super sticker. Obviously, I saw Hunter also asked how the Knicks beer fund is going. I think it's going pretty well, so I appreciate it. Gosh, obviously in these times we're doing the delivery groceries or the pickup groceries, so the beer fund is not as accessible as normal. I have to kind of see what they have in stock, but I'm still getting my suds in. I also want to talk here the BTB Super Chat Superstars from last week. A lot of names here. Obviously, I love you guys so much. Stuart McPeak, Rocking K77, Randy Wolf, Jeff Green. I haven't seen Jeff today. Is he around? I'll have to give him a hard time on Twitter. He's always here. Pabby is from Iowa. I remember that name. Mick P123, Gary Palmer 719, Joseph Geneva, Steve Hearn, Nad Ludlow, and Joe Turner. So appreciate you guys so much.
Yeah, and make sure you head over to huddleuppod.com. As it says, get your swag on. As you can see, we got it on here today and looking good in it, gotta say.
I really do like these.
Yeah.
I'm all about the orange, and would love to bring back the D, but this is a good look. It's clean. Simple, not too much.
So the O here, what did you think when you first saw that?
A mic stand. A mic.
Did you? Okay, see, I thought because #Knicks Beer Fund, that was your goblet for your drink. And my wife comes home and she goes, "Oh, that's a nice microphone." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't even know what it was. I really was like, man, they really fit this hat for us.
Learn how to podcast.
I know, and I thought this was maybe like an instrument. Since we both love to play instruments, I thought maybe that was what was the. I'm still going to view it that way. All right.
Yeah.
And I did want to. How many years was Lynch here? And we're questioning Locke. I'm not questioning Locke. He has shown more in 5 games than Lynch ever showed in 3 years. I mean, I'll just
easily.
Yeah, easily. He's blown him out of the water. I'm just saying that Locke hasn't proven that he is the guy yet. He's proven more than Lynch, but that's not saying a whole lot, really.
We're talking franchise quarterback.
Right.
We're not talking deserves to be in the league. Paxton Lynch doesn't even deserve to be in the gosh darn league.
Right.
We're talking if 10-year, decade-plus quarterback. And I'm sorry, I want to see more. I'm cautiously optimistic. If you want to be more than that, that's fine. But it's all about that sample size.
And Hunter Hurtendine coming in again. Really appreciate you here today, buddy. And everybody, appreciate you again. And yeah, Stafford maybe 2 years ago. Dude has been a loser too long to win. He's been at one of the worst franchises in football. I mean, look at the talent. I mean, yes, he had Calvin Johnson, but they had nothing else, absolutely nothing else than Matthew Stafford and Calvin Johnson. Yeah. And he's had little pieces here and there every once in a while, but they've been a terrible franchise.
Yeah.
So it's hard to evaluate whether he is a great fourth quarter quarterback or a great, making big plays and big games kind of thing. I've seen him make some great throws in big moments, only to see the rest of his team let him down. So
the Lions last year when he was playing looked like a wild card caliber team.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be building the Lions here. So we get back to it. So obviously there's a lot of talk here. Locke will prove to be the guy for the Broncos. I really do think he can be. We got a pronunciation here for you too.
Yeah. Hurtendine. Sorry.
Hungarian. Ooh.
There you go.
Speaking of Nick's Beer Fund. It would be, for Locke, I guess the floor right now, I'd say Andy Dalton, Derek Carr kind of player. Maybe the ceiling is prime Matt Stafford, maybe even a little bit better. So I'm optimistic, but I just need to see more. So hopefully we'll get games to watch it.
Yeah. And we got a lot of people again. And Manny-wise, Locke will prove to be the guy for the Broncos. I really hope so. And I think he's on the right track. He really is. He has made me a believer. That's not saying much because I believed in Lynch for way too long, but he has, just because of his work ethic, the things he says all the right things. He sounds like a franchise quarterback. He puts in the work. I know he does. And so that's always great to see, but there's a lot of guys that put in a lot of work. I know Brock Osweiler, they said he was a film junkie when he was here with the Broncos. He had notebooks just filled with notes from his time studying under Peyton Manning, but he just couldn't translate it to the field.
Yeah.
So some guys can get it, some guys can't.
So we actually see in the comments right now comparing Deshaun Watson to Drew Locke. So, Carl, I'm curious your thoughts on that. Right now, obviously, given the sample size, Deshaun Watson is probably one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Granted, he might be tanked due to Bill O'Brien trading off weapons. Granted, DeAndre Hopkins has, I think, lost a step. But that offense, they got some speed weapons. But Deshaun Watson versus Drew Locke, what can you tell me there? What are the main differences?
Locke has the better arm.
So what do you mean by that? That could be
stronger arm.
Okay.
More velocity on his throws. That was one of the questions coming out for Watson, was that he didn't have the velocity that you sometimes see other top quarterbacks coming out, like Patrick Mahomes. He didn't have close to that. So he's not quite that. Watson, though, he was known for his incredible intelligence, and that's shown so far. He makes a lot of great decisions. He is accurate beyond belief. I mean, more accurate than I thought he would be coming into the NFL. And he just makes a lot of wow plays because he has the feet to make them. He's not like the great athlete of like a Lamar Jackson, but I would say he's a little bit better. I don't know. Locke's athletically gifted, but I would say he's a little bit more clunker style, where Watson's very smooth.
I agree with you. I think the biggest thing is Locke is an okay athlete. He can move around, but when he loses his mechanics, he tends to have some issues with his accuracy. That was in college. Saw that a little bit in the NFL too. The ball would sail on him. Where Watson, I think he's much better with a muddied base. So he has a little bit more playmaking when things are dirty around him. I saw better processing and accuracy with Watson as well. Watson does have a tendency. I do think that something that not enough people talk about is, everybody likes to poop on the Houston Texans offensive line because Watson is sacked so much, but a lot of those sacks are because Watson holds onto the ball. I mean, he's a reason for a lot of those sacks. Sacks are not just an offensive line stat. They're as much a quarterback stat and a wide receiver stat, a synergistic offensive stat. So that is something to look into. But I think right now, just because of the sample size, see more. But in terms of the arm talent and everything, Locke, I would say has as good of an upside, if not better, But I mean, if you're judging guys just based off arm talent, I mean, Josh Allen's going to be the best quarterback in the NFL. So there's a lot that goes into it. But Locke right now, make no mistake, he's got massive upside. So we'll see.
And like I said, he's already shown some things that, like I said, you could say are better than Watson. Yeah. And so, I mean, when you can say that, that's a pretty good thing to say about a quarterback. And some of the other guys like Lynch or Osweiler, when the best thing you can say is they're taller, that's not a great thing to say. Or they're a great athlete. I think that's one of the worst things you can say about a quarterback. If that's the first thing you say about them, they're a great athlete.
Yeah.
Because that's not exactly what a quarterback is, especially when you come to the NFL, or they're not going to last long. And Stu, hey, what's up, Stu? Glad you could come in. What's up, all? And glad you're joining us here, Stu. Appreciate the super chat.
And apparently Chad just messaged us that for some reason our stream did not connect to Facebook today, which is why all of a sudden you're seeing those likes and whatnot come in. So welcome, Facebook watchers. Appreciate you guys as well. We still love you. Blame Chad, I guess, if you want. That's the easiest one. He's not here to defend himself anymore. So that's the most fun.
There you go. But, yeah, and, compared to Flacco, everyone has a quick post from Justin Statler that's talking about him compared to Watson, where there were a lot of sacks that Flacco took this last year that were on Flacco. And, Flacco, the master of the third down sack. There were a lot. I mean, it was. You send a blitz up the A gap, Flacco's just going to fold. That was his thing this last year. There were so many plays where
sacks are a quarterback stat.
Right.
So everybody blaming the offensive line. Sacks are as much about the quarterback as anything.
So, yeah, there you go. Exactly what Nick said. You got to always look at the entire picture. You can't just look at the raw stats and say, yep, this guy sucks because of this, this, and this. There's a story behind the stats. And
I agree with you.
Ronan McConnon coming in. When Miller had to take on the full leadership of the team, his performance suffered. With Locke taking the pressure off, do you think we see a resurgence of Miller, especially because he is on contract?
There's something actually, and also, Ronan, get to us. What is that emblem in your picture there? It looks maybe like a soccer emblem. That's pretty sweet. So let us know in the comments. So for Von Miller's leadership style, the thing is with Von Miller, you love to have him. I'm biggest Von Miller fan as anyone. Von's never been really the, bring the lunch pail to work, hardcore leadership, military style guy. He wants to be everybody's friend. That's the impression that I get from him. He's fun, easygoing, wants to be everybody's friend. And that, that's good if you have other strong, crackdown guys that you can point to. I mean, obviously when you had Peyton Manning there, you had DeMarcus Ware, TJ Ward, Aqib Talib. You can point to those guys, but Von Miller being that alpha kind of leader just doesn't really suit his personality the way I see it. So now you have Drew Locke. Cortland Sutton's interview the other day, my gosh, what a mature, just well-spoken person. I'm really impressed with him. So I do agree with you, Von Miller. I mean, he can still be a leader. There's different types of leadership, but I just never really saw that guy that was a, come with me if you want to live kind of guy busted in there. So that's a good point there by Ronan.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, when we had Peyton Manning, DeMarcus Ware, Demaryius Thomas, we had a lot of those alpha personality guys that could step up and say, Aqib Talib, he wasn't really, he was more of a rah-rah guy. TJ Ward, he was
Boss Ward.
Yeah, Boss Ward. There's a reason he got that name. So even Chris Harris is a little bit of a pretty, like, we're in this, we're going to work hard kind of guy.
Guys who want with you in the trenches.
Right, exactly. And so Von Miller could be more of the goofy guy that you need a good mixture. Mm-hmm. You need that guy that's when everybody's kind of frustrated, the guy that can make everybody laugh, that's Von Miller. I mean, he's going to do some dancing. He's going to do some he's going to rip
a little bit of out the rear end. I remember they always talk about Von's farts are the most horrible smelling thing that anybody's ever had to deal with.
Right. And so you need those guys just to – because it is a grind on a season. And so a guy that can really keep the team united. I mean, I know they talked about Studio 58 during the Super Bowl run, that he had a nightclub set up in his basement where anybody could come anytime and just hang out, which would – you can only do that when you're single. My wife would kill me if I tried to do anything remotely close to that. But you're right. I think asking him to be that alpha is really just asking him not to be himself. And so adding guys that now are more that way. Derek Wolfe was that way, but I don't think he had quite the personality or just the elite playability that people were just like, yes, this is the guy that our team is built around. But now they actually do have a lot of those kind of guys. I'd still say Drew Locke. I'm not sure if he is that type, though.
The thing with Drew Locke, and I do agree right now that he has obviously guys are gravitating him, especially the younger guys. He has that moxie. However, when that moxie and that style doesn't come with winning, it can probably get old fast. So you have to win to back that up. And obviously, I mean, I'm not calling him Baker Mayfield. Granted, those two have hung out. I think they hung out at the Super Bowl this past year. I like Locke more than I like Baker Mayfield, just vicariously from a distance. But still, that fun-loving, rapping on the sideline, that's great when you're winning. But if you're getting beat by 20 at home, nobody's going to have fun then. That shtick will fade quickly. So hopefully the winning comes with it.
Yeah. All right. Darian P. coming in here, the $2 super chat. Appreciate that. Which MHH member would do the best in the NFL? Well, Chad's already in the NFL.
Yeah, he's Rodrigo Blankenship's doppelganger.
So that would be my answer. Chad kicking footballs.
Yeah, honestly, I'm trying to think. I mean, Eric's probably the biggest guy out of all of us. I think Eric's a big boy. I don't think he's short either. I think Eric's a big boy. Honest to God, I've never met any of these people in person. So, but we need to have like a combine or something.
Each of us have to record us running our 40.
I played tight end and defensive end. You were a wide receiver.
Yep. And defensive end.
Defensive end too.
Yep.
And I would have loved to have blocked you. No, I was kidding.
Well, I'm a small town kid, so
that's true.
You have to remember our offensive linemen were like 190. So me coming at 165 as a defensive end wasn't that bad.
Yeah. No.
But so I don't know. I'm trying to think of like just.
Oh, that's not what I wanted. Things move. I didn't want to.
You got yourself in pretty good shape for your wedding there.
That's true, but then this happened.
Right.
The staying at home and the gym's being closed.
So
I was really started going.
I'm trading for my Spartan run still.
Okay.
That should be in August. Zach, maybe. Yeah. He's skinny. I just don't know how athletic he is. I mean, because none of us like post these like we're grand workout people or out playing, flag football or anything like that.
Let's just say there's a reason that we're analyzing the game from this end. But yeah, guys, we're getting a little longer. We should wrap up here soon. I saw a good question from James Campbell. What sort of leader would you say Bradley Chubb is? Liked by Wolf, hard leader. Chubb to me comes in as an adult. He's business. He's going to come in and work. No nonsense. I mean, he's going to obviously have fun with Von Miller or whatnot, but he's serious. I mean, that's one thing, Bill Belichick loved him. Just come in, do your work. I'm not sure what's in regards to the leadership impact he'll have over other players. And maybe that's something that he will grow into. I mean, you don't typically see it even from first and second year guys. So, but I think that he's got all the makings of being the prototypical blue collar, the guy that coaches want out there.
So he reminds me of people always talked about that with DT, that he was the quiet leader that led by example, that nobody was going to outwork him on the field. And so others were pushed just by how hard he was working. You don't want other coaches seeing you jogging when this guy's sprinting down the field because you know that's going to look bad for you. And
I think he's got a little bit more aura than DT. Like as far as teammates go, I think DT did kind of he helped those other players as well, but I think Chubb's got a little bit more pull in regards to the whole defense.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I'm just saying I feel like he's more of a quiet leader than he is the
moxie or
get in your face, tell you that you're doing something wrong. Where Cortland Sutton's more of that I will get in your face if I feel like you've done something wrong kind of guy. That's where I feel like he really steps into that kind of role. Drew Locke is he's going to keep everybody motivated, keep everybody excited. So I really do think they have a really nice mix of guys right now. It's kind of neat to see. So
we're going to be getting out of here real soon. If a couple good questions come in before we get out of here, then we will answer them still. But Rob Dickinson coming in here with Callahan being our best inside corner. Who would you bet on playing the majority of the snaps on the outside with Boye on the opposite side? Thanks, Rob, for the question. Right now, it does sound like Michael Ojemudia is the guy who's being primmed and primed for that role. That being said, things can change quickly. Let's say Callahan isn't healthy. Who knows? I don't think he's ever finished the season healthy. That's something it's just an unknown at this point. And, how's his rehab? How's he coming along? But right now, I'd say Michael Ojemudia would not sleep on Bosby. Maybe would not sleep on Yadam either still, although it makes me a little bit nervous. But, everyone talks about offensive tackle being a concern. Obviously, Garrett Bowles is a whipping boy with a huge contract with Juwan James. But the other position that makes me really nervous going into the season is cornerback. Prince Amukamara just went to the Raiders. There's still some guys out there the Broncos could look at. There'll be some bodies that they can look at the end of preseason that they might be able to bring in, kind of like the Duke Dawson trade at the end of training camp or preseason last year. So right now, again, answering the question, long walk to a small drink of water. But I think Ojemudia is probably the guy, maybe Bosby, maybe Adam, but Ojemudia is the odds-on favorite in my opinion.
We definitely have a lot of people who want us to stream a MHH Combine. Give us 6 months so I can actually work at it and I don't completely embarrass myself. And Glenn Hauser, there could be an MHH reunion where no one has ever met. Stream it. Well, yeah, we definitely have to stream that.
That might be the beer talking. If you can see, I'm starting to get a little red in the face, and that's not the poison ivy. We should. Does the Wilkinson injury worry you guys? He's coming off the surgery. Obviously, that is a concern, but it's still far enough off where I don't know. I don't say it's medical records. I couldn't tell you exactly. It's something that we didn't know about before that's there, so I'm worried in that regard, but not enough to have a real educated opinion on it. So wait and see. Can be a little bit nervous about it, though, because that's where I'm at.
Right. You hate that they wait till this point to have surgery on something. It's if they're having surgery in January, February kind of thing, you're kind of going, okay, that makes sense. If this was, hey, I'm going to try to play through this and see how it goes, and then all of a sudden they still have to go have surgery, like Callahan, he had that a couple times where he tried to play through injury and they kept getting worse, and then they'd have to have another surgery. And then he'd still have some pain and try to play through it. And then it just the delay in surgery obviously makes things a little bit more complicated. So it does have me a little worried. I didn't view him as a starter right off the bat, but obviously he was going to be a key backup for the team. So it does. We'll see if he starts missing practices, if he's the guy that they're only allowing 50% participation or anything like that. I'm going to be pretty nervous when that starts happening.
Yeah. Nope, absolutely. So, guys, probably time to get on out of here. You can find Carl on Twitter at Carl Dumler MHH and myself at Nick Kendell MHH. Make sure you guys head over to milehighhuddle.com, an affiliate of the Maven Coalition and Sports Illustrated. Go on over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. We read those. We do take those to heart. So if you guys can do that, that support can help us continue to bring you these Denver Bronco deep dives weekly, obviously. Building the Broncos number one in your hearts and minds, but the other ones as well. You can follow the Building the Broncos podcast and all our other great audio content by subscribing to the Huddle Up podcast, wherever you listen to these shows. You can follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle and at BTB Football Pod. Carl, anything else come down the tracks here that you want to touch on real quick, or anything you want to talk about before you get on out of here?
No, just everybody stay safe out there. And just appreciate you joining us once again for another fun evening of answering questions. It's been fun. Glad you got your hat, man. I was worried it wouldn't make it before the show. And so now we can be twins.
I can show off my beautiful hair now. This is really clean, though. What do you want to go light here? Last one. What was it? Here we huddleuppod.com. Get this one. Let's see it in the pictures. We need to beat the Huddle Up Pod. We need to beat Duck Valley Deep Divers. This is the cleanest one. Let's be completely honest. Best hat for the best show. So I don't want to boast too much, but there's a little bit of boasting we can do. So yeah, appreciate you guys so much. Carl, anything before we get out of here?
Yep. Make sure you head on over, leave us a review. We really appreciate it, especially this time of year. Helps get us out there more to a lot more people. And again, we just appreciate every one of you being a part of this. And leave a 5-star review for your chance at MHH gear. So I'm guessing Chad and Chad and Zach have something going on, a little swag giveaway. So make sure you head on over and do that. And we got Jeff Green joining us.
Jeff, we were talking about you.
I know, man. This is what happens when you're not here. We get to talk about you.
So, all right, guys, we're going to get out of here. We're already at over an hour, so we'll see you same time, same place next week. Stay safe, and as always, go Broncos.
You've been listening to Building the Broncos. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.